BAKUGAN Games. What happened to the iconic series that we all grew up with? Where did our new concept of battling monsters go? After so much time, back in the prime days of BAKUGAN Games, is there any surprise that BAKUGAN aren't even mentioned anymore today? Just being used as a nostalgia relic that businesses throw at us just to get a few bucks. Hi, I'm DripKnight, and I'm here to tell you all about the awful world of BAKUGAN Games. BAKUGAN Battle Brawler 2009, released for the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii, and Nintendo DS. I don't think it's fair to call this game a single style of game. Similar to WarioWare, it has mini games within the game that dictate who is the winner. And as for each level, it goes from 1 to 3. The 3 types of battle often changes what's gonna happen. And for what it had, it was a lot of fun. We got the main characters, we got our own OC, and we were just able to have a fun time with the BAKUGAN that we were watching, and we could just live the world that they were living with its own original story. The one struggle that I think the BAKUGAN company had at the time was how they were gonna transfer the anime mechanics into a game. How are you gonna take all this gate card, all these battles that have to do with ability cards, and whoever has the higher G points wins the game? And implementing the mini games just helped solidify that they really didn't know how to translate it, but they wanted to do their best. And I think what they did was revolutionary. Dare I even say a genius idea. Unlike Pokemon, who already had a ground base doing the games first and then the anime, BAKUGAN totally did the reverse. Because strategy is something that we all love in games. We see the strategy in the anime, how Dan wins every battle. But when the game comes down to who's just better at mini games, sure, you can use a little bit of strategy to know like when to use your ability cards, what gate cards you want to use, how many G points you're going to stack up, but eventually it gets tiring. BAKUGAN and Pokemon were totally polar opposites. Pokemon had the ability of having different types, having different Pokemon, having 151, and back in 2009, they were already on Gen 3, or probably Gen 4, I kind of forgot. BAKUGAN Battle Brawler, I really do think the best part of the game was Leonidas, / Omega Leonidas. It was a really cool part, but the villain was very much forgettable. Next game, BAKUGAN Battle Brawler Battle Trainer 2010, released exclusively for the Nintendo DS. This honestly in many ways is just a cheap way to promote the series, but not living up to the success that was BAKUGAN Battle Brawlers 2009. This is a game that was an RPG if the RPG had no seasoning at all. It was just plain. True to the fact that yes, technically you could call this RPG, there was nothing redeeming about this game at all. From its new characters all the way from its horrifying mechanics. BAKUGAN Defender of the Core 2010, released for the PSP, PS3, Xbox 360, Wii, and Nintendo DS. Now this was truly the successor to BAKUGAN Battle Brawler, which after a whole year, we have to see does it hold up to what we truly remember from BAKUGAN Battle Brawler 2009. A change from the mini game brawling system to now an action fighting game where you get to control the BAKUGAN, roam the map, and fight bosses that range from trap BAKUGAN to mega bosses, where the main objective of the story is to destroy these crystals that are taking over BAKUGAN's mind, weakening Dan and all the other brawlers. Defender of the Core brought in the characters from the new series, which was New Vestroia at the time, and I think this is where BAKUGAN team really got their foot in the door on how they wanted to make the mechanic. But at the same time, they took like 2 steps back a little bit. They completely got rid of the gate card mechanic, only opting for you to have a one-on-one battle with whatever the BAKUGAN is at the time. Sometimes it might be 3-on-1, sometimes you might just be going in for an objective to destroy the crystal, and you have to destroy enemies as they come until eventually the crystal shield goes away and you can just destroy the crystal. There's variety of maps. Overall, very much a fun experience. But if you're gonna make a combat fighting game, you need to have depth in that game. You need to have something that makes people want to come back, learn more, and get better. When it feels like every time you play this game, you just remember one cheap thing that you did that helped you win the game, does it really feel like you want to go back and keep learning more when you've already learned so much? When there's the light attack, the strong attack, the projectile, the strong projectile, and of course your 4 ability cards, which you can only equip 2 at a time. I'm not saying this has to be like a Street Fighter level where you have to have 16 mechanics and you have to master them all to make them combos. But when you have a game like this, and if you think it's gonna age well compared to the other game of BAKUGAN Brawlers 2009 where it's just simple minigame, age does show its true colors for Defender's Core. And sadly enough, this is where BAKUGAN games start to go downhill. BAKUGAN Rise of the Resistance 2011, released only for the Nintendo DS, was the biggest example of when an IP is only used to carry a game and not the mechanics of the game nor its presentation, only being a tower defense game with the sprites of the BAKUGAN and Gundalian invaders, which of course was on the air at the time. Clearly this game was only meant to help push for the anime, push for for sale and not try to live up to like an evergreen game where the game could be there, still be played 10 years later and still be a lot of fun. And that's when you really saw that Bakugan was running out of ideas, or they knew it was time for them to pack up their bags and leave. That in the monster game, they have sadly lost. And sadly also, goodbye Dan and Drago, the way we knew you before. Truly you will be missed. 9 years later, Bakugan Champions of Vestroia 2020 released only for the Nintendo Switch. A game where it's showing off the newest reboot of the series with its new game, new characters, and new mechanics. So long after radio silence, it can't be said for the series to get rebooted and now also have this new game. And after kind of looking at it and kind of playing it, I can say the word average, mid, basic are words that have been overused nowadays. But to describe this game, I will use all these words plus one more: boring. Unlike the first game of Bakugan Battle Bros, where you felt the life in the game, though those cutscenes were cheap, they were all voice. While we have in this game, not even a voice line. We just have NPCs talking through text. Though there are some parts where you're gonna have some dialogue, that part is also to be expected. But when you look back on what we had before, it just doesn't feel the same. And the fighting mechanic in this game, though the brief moment I've seen it, it just seems to be a scavenger hunt, find the power up, win the battle type of game. Which very similar to the first one. Just simple mini games, you battle, you win. But you cannot make a game of Bakugan and just have it empty inside. And that's what it felt like when I played Champions of Vestroia. I'm sad that Bakugan had the treatment of not being able to have a game that they can call their own. Similar to Digimon, how usually the fan base kind of disputes on what's the best game because they are still looking for one game that they can call their own. Similar with Digimon and Bakugan, most of their games are just either used for cash grabs, promote something, or they just don't have the substance. Though I will admit Digimon probably got a little bit higher than Bakugan. Whether it be the fact that Digimon is thriving till this day or the fact that Bakugan might have given up too soon. But I'll never forget the important lesson that I learned looking at all these Bakugan games. And that's to not fuck around with Pokemon. So to kind of make a proposal here, if you guys want me to make more Bakugan content, then let's reach 100 likes. Guaranteed if this happens, I'll make more Bakugan content. But until then, thank you for watching. You guys stay safe and peace.